get started. Hello and welcome to our webinar from low code to pro code, how to select the right Microsoft AI platform. This is going to be a very informative session and we sincerely hope we can add value. My name is Mohammad Arsal Naveed and with me are my colleagues Sayed Josefa and Haram Naseem. So before we get started, we have a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded. You will receive an email with a link to access the recording, so feel free to revisit or share it with your colleagues. There will be a Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to submit your questions throughout the presentation using the Q&A chat feature, and we'll address as many as possible at the end of the session. We'll also be sharing additional resources and a copy of today's slide deck after the session, so you don't have to worry about taking detailed notes. With that said, let's dive right in. So over the last year, we have seen a massive increase in interest around AI agents, copilots, and automation. Almost every organization using Microsoft technologies eventually reaches the same question. Should we build our AI using Copilot Studio, Azure AI, or both? So this webinar is not a product comparison, and it's not a technical deep dive. Instead, it's a decision framework based on real enterprise implementations, what works, what doesn't, and why the wrong choice can become very expensive very quickly. Moving on to the next slide. Let me give you some background of who we are and what kind of work we do at Imperium Dynamics. We are a Microsoft-focused solution partner, and our team helps organizations modernize their processes and unlock new capabilities using Microsoft Cloud Stack, things like the Power Platform, Azure, and Dynamics 365. We are not just implementing tools, we are building industry-ready solutions that fit the way our clients actually work. On top right, you'll see a range of logos here: healthcare systems, manufacturers, energy providers, even sport and entertainment brands. The variety is intentional. It shows our flexibility to work successfully in different industries, no matter the issue. We hold 6 Microsoft Solution Partner designations covering everything from data and AI to business applications and security. That means when you work with us, you're getting a partner who is vetted and recognized for excellence across the full Microsoft ecosystem, not just one piece of it. Moving on to the agenda. Here's how we'll be structuring our webinar. First, we'll quickly align on what agentic AI actually means, because it's a term that's often used but rarely explained clearly. Then we'll look at the platform philosophy behind Copilot Studio and Azure AI. This is where most organizations go wrong, because they focus on features instead of knowing the philosophy behind that. After that, I'll walk you through the decision framework. You can directly apply it to your own use cases. We'll then ground everything in real-world case studies from our own organization, Imperium Dynamics. And finally, to wrap it up with clear takeaways and simple checklist that you can use internally. So, what is agentic AI? Let's start with agentic AI. Traditionally, chatbots were reactive. You asked a question and you got an answer. Agentic AI is different. An agentic system doesn't just respond, it understands intent, decides what to do next, and takes action on your behalf. In simple terms, agentic AI can understand goals instead of just prompts, break problems into steps, call tools, workflows, or APIs, and complete tasks end to end. This shift from answering to acting is what makes platform choice so important. In real enterprise environments, agentic AI enables 4 major capabilities. First, action execution. That includes creating tickets, generating documents, updating systems, or even triggering workflows. Second, proactive decision making. The agent doesn't wait for instructions. It can spot inefficiencies, anomalies, and suggest the actions to take against that. Third, reasoning over data and context. This goes beyond retrieval. The agent interprets information and applies the business logic behind that. And finally, context-aware learning. The agent understands who the user is, what role they play, and what data they're allowed to see. Both Copilot Studio and Azure AI can enable these capabilities, but they do it in a very different way. Moving on to the platform philosophy behind Copilot Studio versus Azure AI. Personally, I believe this slide is the most important one in this whole presentation. The choice between Copilot Studio and Azure AI is not about which platform is more powerful. It's about who builds the agent, who maintains it after go live, how much control you need, and how much governance is enforced. When organizations ignore philosophy and focus only on features, they often end up with AI solutions that are expensive, fragile, and hard to maintain. Moving on, let's discuss the Copilot platform philosophy. Copilot Studio is built on low-code, business-first philosophy. It assumes that business users, functional consultant, business analysts should be able to build and maintain agents. AI is primarily orchestrating existing business processes. Governance is handled through the Power Platform itself, and integration is mostly within the Microsoft ecosystem. So basically what Copilot Studio provides is, it provides a visual no-code designer, pre-built connectors to hundreds of systems, Power Automate for workflows, Dataverse and SharePoint for data, native publishing to Teams, Web, and Dynamics. The goal is speed, accessibility, and business ownership with ease. Azure AI takes a very different approach. It is basically a code first and flexibility first approach. Azure AI assumes that developers and data scientists control the agent behavior. You may need custom models, fine tuning, or complex orchestration. Governance that happens through Azure Policy, Entra ID, and RBAC. Integration means connecting to any system via APIs or codes. With Azure AI, basically what you get is you get full control over the prompts and logics, Azure OpenAI models, Azure AI search for retrieval augmented generation, functions, APIs, and custom deployments as well. So Azure AI optimizes for depth, scale, and custom intelligence. Now, most organizations approach this decision incorrectly. They ask which platform has more features. The better questions would be who owns the outcome, who fixes the agent when it breaks, how complex is the reasoning, and what does success actually look like. Using Copilot Studio for highly complex AI workloads leads to limitations very quickly. Using Azure AI for simple conversational workflows often leads to over-engineering, delays, and unnecessary costs. All right, so I'll be happy to cater any questions that are arising at the moment. All right, I believe we have no questions, so let's just move forward with it. So now we'll be talking about the decision framework overview. To avoid these mistakes that we talked about earlier, we use a simple but effective decision framework. This framework evaluates primary users, complexity of the use case, data sources, customization requirements, time to deploy, cost and maintenance models. Let's walk through the most important signals. Moving on to the decision metrics. Start with who is building and maintaining the agent. If your primary users are business analysts, functional consultants, or citizen developers, and the use cases revolve around FAQs, conversational workflows, basic process automation, so Copilot Studio will be the correct choice and will be the ideal choice for these primary users. On the contrary, if your primary users are developers, data scientists, AI engineers, or machine learning engineers, and you might need multi-step reasoning, custom machine learning models, advanced orchestration, and better AI decision making, Azure AI will be the better fit. Moving on. Next, we look at the data and the timeline. If your data is mainly stored in Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, or common SaaS platforms, Copilot Studio integrates naturally using the pre-built connectors it has. On the other hand, if your data is spread across custom databases coming from real-time streams, real data sources, or require heavy transformations, Azure AI provides the flexibility you need. Time to value matters as well. Copilot Studio development usually takes around days to weeks of development with ease of low to no code, whereas Azure AI requires complex development work that takes around weeks to months for being completely developed. Now, let's see the demo in action. So I'll hand it over to my colleague Harun Naseem, and he'll walk you through the basics of Azure AI and Copilot Studio itself. And after that, Sayed Josefa will take over and will continue with the presentation. Over to you, Harun.
Thank you, Ursel. And so let's start with our demo. So first of all, I'll be walking you over Copilot Studio. And so here we have an agent called an uncertified translation agent. Basically, what it does is it translates a document or a text by user to any language you want from any language as well. So first of all, this is the basic overview of the Copilot Studio. Over here, we have the name of the agent and the model that will be used behind the agent, the LLM model. And then these are the main instructions that will be followed by the agent. And then this is the knowledge base. Over here, we can add some PDFs, some links, SharePoint sites, or a database, anything we want. And then moving on to tools, we can also add some tools which can be Dynamics Flow as well, or any third-party tool as well. You can connect a third-party tool, third-party app through a tool if they have. And then the main thing in Copilot Studio, which makes it different from others and better, is the topics. So basically, topics are, you can say, a flow you can create, which will be created on any scenario you want. You can be creative with that. So basically, I have created this topic that receives a document, and then it basically takes the document to an AI builder, which will be a model that will be used. And then it takes all the text in the document and then translates it. So we can directly, you know, test it as well. So we'll start the conversation with our agent. We'll say hello. The agent responds, and we directly just say that I want a translation of following document in English. And from there here, we can select any document we want. So I've selected this document, which is basically in Spanish. So we'll see that it converts our document from Spanish to English. So here we are. It has started to do its work. First of all, it will gather all the data that is in the file, basically all the text. So it has taken it out from the document in Spanish, and then it will convert it into English. So I'll just speed it up. So over here I have it done as well. So this is the translation. It has successfully converted all the Spanish text into English. And of course, with a note that this is an uncertified translation. So basically this is the Copilot Studio. You can be creative with it. You can create different topics in it, and also you can connect different agents so they can communicate with each other, and you can complete whatever tasks you want. Then the competitor comes, that is Azure Foundry or Azure AI. Basically, it has a big scope. You can deploy agents, you can have models over here. You can deploy different applications, overall everything over here. So first of all, we have an agent created in the Azure Foundry as well. So some things are similar from the Copilot Studio, such as the instructions, the knowledge base. You can also add the knowledge base in it, actions, and the temperature. You can set the temperature of the model as well. But one thing that's missing is the topic. You cannot create a topic over here or a flow over here. Basically, that's because it is a pro code environment. You have to basically code something, or you can use this pre-built agent in your code as well. So basically, we go into view code. You can use this code basically, which is of this agent, and then use it in your application, such as I've done over here. I've used that agent in my application. So basically what we do is we run a code, this chatbot starts, and for suppose you say, I want to visit Paris. What are some places I should go? So over here we have a response from the agent. These are all the beautiful places that we should visit in Paris. So basically what you can do is you can make a complete application. You can, but you have to do it through coding as well. So this is better for developers, AI developers, data scientists who are making a complete application and they want to add an agent and basically models as well. So over here we have models and endpoints. And over here we have all the models placed. You can use the model in your application or your agent. And so basically that is the big scope of Azure AI. And the main difference that I just told you, and my co-presenter Ursula as well, that this is a pro code environment. You have to code something to build a better thing. And whereas in Copilot Studio, everything is low code and you can basically just connect the flows and just go with it. So thank you. And this was the demo. I'll pass on to Zafar.
Can you hear me now? Is my sound visible?
Yeah, it's
Can you?
better. It's
Yeah.
better, yeah.
Yes, I'll go back. So, thank you, Helen, for demonstrating the demo in action. So, moving forward, before that, if anyone has some questions, anything, you can reach out. Okay. So, now moving forward, so we will be seeing the use cases that we have developed in Imperium Dynamics for different clients. So moving forward to the next slide, we will be seeing the real world case studies for Azure AI and as well as Copilot Studio. So moving towards the Copilot Studio. So the basically so in our first use case, a professional service client needed to automate document creation, specifically non-disclosure agreements and statements of work. So the popular demand for our product, that is Acadia, was the requirement of the client. So what we have done, so basically what their problem is that their existing process involved manual editing and then copying or pasting from old documents into the new document. That could be error, like the human can make some errors into it, and then searching multiple storage locations instead of one place. So this resulted in slow turnaround times and frequent human errors. So the basic key requirement was their MS Teams native experience that business users could manage themselves easily. So then why the Copilot was the right choice? Because the Copilot was ideal for their scenario. The workflow was structured, no custom machine learning was required as Azure AI would be requiring those. But in this use case, that was not the requirement. And then everything lived inside Microsoft 365. So the agent basically can collect required inputs conversationally, and then the agent or the bot, you can say, that can retrieve the templates from Acadia, our product that Imperium has built it. So, and after that, the agent can also generate documents automatically and then deliver them to the directly inside MS Teams. So you don't have to go to an external place where you have to share with other team members. And then why not Azure AI? Because it has a higher development cost, longer deployment timelines, and increased DevOps complexity, unnecessary engineering is structured for a workflow. So these are some of the this is the use case that we have implemented for our client. So moving forward, if you have, so before moving forward, if you have any questions regarding it or need some clarity that how we have built that product, uh, basically the agent for our client, you can reach out to us. So moving forward to our next use case of Azure AI. So that was basically a unique one that a client wants for staffing and recruiting. So here are the requirements included. Basically they were facing the issue of manual screen resume parsing and then skills extraction, like how the skills should be extracted because every candidate has different format of their CV and resume. So that's why the machine learning model comes in this Azure AI. We can't do that in Copilot Studio. And then we have another requirement of candidate ranking, like we need to rank the candidates according to their score or their skills, and then reasoning across multiple data sources. So this was required, and so what we have implemented is that we use the Azure AI and using their basic complex machine learning models and all of that stuff. We created all of these stuff like automated interview scheduling in Outlook and Teams, AI driven candidate scoring and ranking, and then it's a very secure and scalable enterprise hiring automation that saves a lot of time. And then why Azure AI? Because as I said earlier, that resume or CV contains unstructured data that cannot be formatted. Basically, every candidate have different format of styling of their resumes. So that's why, and then the Azure AI can easily understand the semantics of the resume or CV, and then we can have the custom scoring logic as well in it. And why not Copilot Studio? Because there are limitations around Copilot Studio that we can't use the advanced models like we have used in Azure AI. And apart from that, no candidate ranking algorithms were present in Copilot Studio and no control over AI decision. So these were the two cases that we have implemented for two different clients, but we have implemented more of them. Like there is a scenario where we have to implement the hybrid of this one. So in many enterprise scenarios, the right answer is not one platform, it's both. So a hybrid approach works best when business owners owns the conversational layer. Yeah. So and then the developers can own the complex intelligence. They know how to code and like what to implement for complex queries and all of that stuff. And then teams want teams or dynamics as a front end. So in this approach, like we will be using the hybrid approach. Copilot basically, Copilot Studio handles the experience as well, like Azure AI on the other hand handles the intelligence. So moving forward to our key takeaways and checklist, decision checklist slide. So if you have any queries regarding it or need clarification on it, so feel free to contact us. And then moving on to our key takeaways and decision checklist. So Yeah, so let's summarize the key takeaways. So when to use the Copilot Studio. So choose Copilot Studio when business users maintain the agent. You need fast deployment. The use case is conversational and process driven. And on the other hand, when to use Azure AI. So when you need custom intelligence or when the logic is complex or developers want to own the life cycle of the complete agent. And then choose hybrid when you need both speed and depth and you are operating at enterprise scale. And then the cost considerations. Cost models matter, like whether you choose Copilot Studio or Azure AI, the cost matters. Copilot Studio is license-based and predictable. Azure AI, on the other hand, is consumption-based and flexible. And neither is cheaper by default, like, and then the most expensive solution is always the wrong architecture you choose. So moving to the final slide. So final thoughts here. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final perspective that the most successful AI initiatives we see don't start with tools, models, or features. They start with clarity. They start with ownership, means that clearly defining who is responsible for the AI's behavior, outcomes, and ongoing improvements. They start with governance, understanding how fits AI fits into your security, compliance, and risk frameworks before it ever goes live. And then moving forward, they focus on maintainability, making sure that the people closest to the business can evolve the solution without creating technical debt or long-term dependency. And the last one, then they think seriously about scalability, not just whether the AI works today, but whether it will still work as data grows, use case expands, and expectations increases. So to conclude, Studio and Azure AI are both powerful platforms, but they are powerful in different ways. The real value comes from aligning each platform to the right problem, the right team, and the right level of complexity. So when that alignment is done correctly, AI stops being an experiment or a cost center. It becomes a reliable, governed capability that drives real business outcomes. And that is ultimately the goal. Not just building AI, but building AI that your organization can trust, scale, and sustain. So, yeah, any questions or queries? Thank you for your time. If you have any questions or about your own use cases or want to explore a hybrid approach tailored to your organization, we'd love to continue the conversation. You can reach us at info@imperiumdynamics.com. So let's open it up for questions now, if anyone has.